boys and girls. Superintendent Galvan here with Story Time. So glad you're with us. Tonight, as we continue to celebrate Women's History Month, I get to read you about Hedy Lamarr, and she led a double life. She was a famous Hollywood legend, so she was a movie star, but she was also a brilliant inventor. And so you'll see here her movie star side and then her science side. So she was both a movie star and a scientist. And in this story, you're going to hear what she invented that was very, very important to the history of America. So her name is Hedy Lamarr. Okay, here we go. Hedy Lamarr had a double life. The public knew her as a glamorous movie star, famous throughout the world. But in her private life, Hedy was a brilliant inventor, a woman known only for her closest friends who knew her talent. Hedy's greatest invention was the technology known as the frequency hopping spread spectrum. This is the scientific breakthrough that helps keep our cell phone messages private and defends our computers from hackers. Without Hedy's revolutionary idea, the electronic devices we use every day would be more open to attacks. So Hedy created the frequency hopping spread spectrum. Cameras flashed. The glamorous movie star stepped out of her limousine and onto the red carpet. Everyone who knew Hollywood was there. The star-studded premiere of her first English movie, Algiers, was the social event of everyone. People seem to think because I have a pretty face that I'm not smart. I have to work twice as hard as anyone else to convince people that I have something resembling a brain. Inventions are easy for me to do, she said. I suppose I just came from a different place. The Hollywood legend had no interest in a glitzy lifestyle. Her passion was science and engineering. So Hedy converted her fancy parka into an inventor's workshop. Computers with tools, a drafting table, and many well-thumbed technical books. And she left the movie business to become the scientist. My father had encouraged me by telling me to hold fast to my dream and that if I held fast, it would come true. So she started doing other things, tinkering with cars and airplanes. She would take apart technology just to put it back together. At age 5, Hedy took apart her music box to examine the mechanisms inside. Hedy's father shared the love of science and took her around Vienna, Austria. They exchanged ideas about everything and anything. Young Hedy was also crazy about motion pictures. Whenever possible, she would sneak off to a movie theater. Returning home, Hedy reenacted her favorite scenes, playing all the parts herself. All my life, I had loved to play act and pretend. I acted all the time. I was a little living copybook. I wrote people down on me, and she would write the stories. My face has been my misfortune, a mask I cannot remove. I must live with it. I curse it. Strange loves hiding on the Casbin City of Secrets. After only 6 months of English lessons, she starred in her first American movie. Mayer thought a glamorous star needed a Hollywood name, so Hedwig Eva Marie Kessler became Hedy Lamarr. So that was her movie name. The brains of people are more interesting than their looks, I think, she said. Hedy's movie let people escape the talk of war, if only for a few hours. World War II was raging and everyone was afraid. The Nazis had taken over Germany and Nazi soldiers had invaded many other European countries. So she went back to the movies business for a little bit. Hope and curiosity about the future seemed better than guarantees. That's the way I was. Hedy asked George if the United States Navy faced a similar problem with their torpedoes, and they did. At a friend's dinner party, Hedy met George Antham, a composer of modern music. This reminded Hedy of the discussion she had in Europe about problem with guiding systems for the torpedoes. The guiding system couldn't prevent the enemy from jamming the weapon's radio signals. Because of this, the enemy could command a torpedo to go off course, and that could be very disastrous. Hey, look, We're talking to each other and we're changing all the time. So then Hetty, with every different key she pressed on a piano, wire quickly moved back and forth. The speed of the wire's movement or its frequency produced the correct note for that key. Hetty noticed and realized that even though the notes were constantly changing, she and George could still play the same tune. And that gave her an idea. The idea to build a secure torpedo guidance system. In the early 1940s, these guidance systems worked like a walkie-talkie, a two-way radio. In order for walkie-talkies to communicate, both handsets must be turned to the same frequency. The idea just came to me, she said. I never thought of such a thing before and probably never shall again. So she created the signal that would prevent missiles from attacking. After months and months of hard work, Hetty and George finished their secret communication system. They wrote a detailed description and a design and filled out an application for a patent. The patent was approved and no one could steal Hetty and George's idea. They sent their patent application to the government and they waited and waited and waited. Do good anyway, think big anyway, and build anyway. We were now at war and a terrible time it was. More than a year later, they received their patent. Frequency hopping, their technology-changing invention, was ready to share with the world. Unfortunately, the Navy had neither the time nor the money to implement a new system at wartime. They refused to develop Hetty and George's invention. Even worse, they classified the technology a secret, so no other inventors could use it. I can't understand why there's no acknowledgement when it's used all over the world. Never a letter, never a thank you, anything. Companies race to include frequency hopping in their own devices. Their technology can be found inside many of today's. And for 45 years later, the military finally declassified Hetty's frequency hopping technology. The patent had long since expired, so anyone was now free to use this invention. They didn't need to give Hetty or George the credit for this amazing invention. Oh no, poor guys, they worked so hard for that. My life was full of colors, full of life. I don't regret anything. I learned a lot. It wasn't until 50 years later, after the patent was granted, that the world recognized the contributions of Hetty Lamar and George Antheil. In 1997, the inventors received the Pioneer Award for the Electronic Frontier Foundation for their significant computer contributions. Hetty's response to this great honor: it's about time. And that's the end. Hetty Lamar, wow, she's super famous, but it took so long for people to recognize her amazing technology to keep our cell phones safe and to also keep other communications safe as well. So thanks for being here with me tonight. Hetty Lamar, our fantastic woman of the month. Thanks so much for joining me. Superintendent Galvan here with the Greenfield School District, sending a great big bear hug from our family to yours.